Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to another scene for the Living World of Darkness, Rage Across New York. We will be setting the scene on the Sept of the Green and at the Seeker's Cabin, where 10 Point is just now finally waving off as dear Billy here heads home. He's been in the Pack's company since yesterday, both to give 10 Point a chance to calm him down and talk to him, as well as to keep him around long enough for a Philodox to come by and verify what has been said. And, excuse me. So yeah, with that done, after, a lot of 10 Point playing host and, doing a surprising amount of sleeping, but eventually just kind of hovering possessively over the kinfolk as he spoke to the Philodox. Yeah, Billy is free to go. He has acquired various phone numbers. His phone number has in fact been acquired, and yeah, he is off. So we will open with 10 Point offering that final little wave at the door, and easing back inside, closing it. Promptly turning around and planting her back against it and just kind of bringing a hand up to rub lightly at the bridge of her nose, just doing the little squint. And after a couple moments of just decompression, we'll just kind of assess what's going on in the cabin, because for as long as the kinfolk has been there, she has been very attentive.
Probably around the kind of living couch area, on the table, again with various maps of the city, brochures, all that. Sitting down reading, but not from the brochures or looking at a map. You see the puff of smoke, you know. Aiden is sitting there reading. Well, reading.
And yeah, 10 Point, just without thinking really, that is the place to go. She'll just kind of drift that way and probably just finally come around the corner of the couch, the other side of it, so that she's not being obtrusive, and will just kind of fold herself in at the one end, though realizing retroactively that, or realizing belatedly, that she did not grab the thing. So she'll like go and start folding herself down, and then partway through the process will pause and stretch out for the armchair where she has left her blanket cocoon, and does the stretch in the little grabby until she finally manages to get a hold of an edge and pull it over there with her.
Yeah, from what you can gather, he doesn't even seem to have registered that you're there. He just seems quite engrossed, actually. Like flicking the pages. Again, taking an occasional drag of a cigarette, just kind of like doing that weird inhale thing that 10 Point likes to see as the smoke kind of just puffs around him.
Oh, all in all, she will just take on an air of weary content, and will begin the process of like wrapping herself up in a blanket nest.
Eventually, he'll
not even necessarily on top of him.
Yeah, he'll just eventually kind of look up, and again, you know, the cigarette kind of gives like she can barely see his like green eyes. Long day.
Just tired. Yeah.
Kind of, again, we'll like read through, look down and like flick the page of the book, and if 10 Point looks, it's a selection of poetry.
Oh, I'm sure she'll take an inquisitive glance.
It is poetry.
Yeah, she won't get all up ons to where she could like read what's on the page, but she'll have glanced at the cover and maybe canted her head around to see that it's in stanzas. But beyond that, won't be overly nosy. Though, having been acknowledged, she'll shift a bit to where she's a bit closer instead of like nested up in the far, far corner.
Look down and flick through the page again. My sister used to read these.
Did she, Raya?
Yeah, WB Yeats.
Blinks.
He's a poet. William Butler Yeats. Very famous Irish poet. A smile looking over at her.
And she still looks a little like bleary. She's got warm blanket now. That's automatically halfway to like nap. And she'll just kind of, especially with the smile and again more interaction, she'll lean over and very probably will just lay carefully so that her head is in his lap.
It's more, I don't know. Just today, give me an odd feeling.
What kind of feeling, Raya?
Just an odd feeling. Feeling the home. But not in that way that you miss it, you know? More at the things we really do. As Fianna, as Guru. You see the darker side of it and it makes you just wonder. It makes you wonder a lot of things.
She's left left mulling, taking up a mildly thoughtful expression, but nothing seems to be especially forthcoming.
You just smile and look over at her. Do you want me to read some of it to you?
And she kind of takes on a lazy little smile. Yes, Raya.
Shadow lies between us as you came, so you shall leave from us. All things must pass away. All life is doomed to fade. With a sigh you turn away. With a deepening heart, no more words to say, you will find the world has changed forever. And the trees are now turning from green to gold, and the sun is now fading. And all I could do is wish I could hold you closer. He flicks the page again.
She's left with a case of psychological whiplash.
Smile, looking over at her. It's just strange, you know? It's strange to see someone of your own tribe display the worst kinds of themselves. And it makes you question your own methods. You know?
Oh, so Raya.
Look what he did to, look whoever that was, that guru, her husband, whatever he was, did to her. Look at the way she is. A broken fawn. And it makes me wonder. You look over at her. It makes me wonder, do I do the right thing or am I just as bad as him when I treat you? And sometimes I have to be aggressive.
Man, that's a terrible way to treat a kinfolk. They're not meant for that.
It just makes you think, 10 Point. Makes you wonder, are we doing the right thing? You know?
But think of what would happen if you hadn't, Raya.
I know. It just makes you... It makes you doubt at times. Do you know what I'm saying? Makes you wonder, there has to be a way that can spare you pain, you know?
She gives a surprisingly enough, she's still like laid out on the couch to where she's got her head in his lap, but he'll feel the light head shake. It has to be hard, Raya.
I know, but there's a part of me that wishes it wouldn't have to be. You know?
I think
But
you want it that way.
it's what we have to do. It doesn't mean I have to like it. You know what I mean? You smile.
What must be done,
I
must
just
be
don't.
done, Raya.
I just can't help but occasionally people compare me to that type of man. And it grates my skin.
You're nothing like that, Raya.
I nod slowly.
She kind of just kind of plops a hand. You know, she's got the head resting on his thigh, and so plopping a hand in front of her face will put it around his knee, essentially. But it just kind of lays there. You don't harm for the sake of harming. And there's nothing that you do to me that I can't heal or learn from. If you did these things to a kin, it would be very different. It would be hateful and harsh. But she's no menace.
No. Can he rub his face? They don't really understand, do they? The things we do. Well, they don't want to.
It's just another light shake of the head. You don't, Raya. Maybe Felix.
Nah. He doesn't.
He sees more than the rest of them.
Felix is a great good man, a loyal friend. But he even doesn't understand the price we pay. For how could he? He's not a Fiona. And I mean that with no disrespect. But how could you understand something when A, you don't want to understand it, and B, you're not from the world which it's grown from? At least I'll give Felix this. He seems the most open person I've ever met on Sept of the Green to the way things are from the other world, the old world, our ways.
She thoughtfully purses in her lips. I think he understands more than you might think he does. And I think that if he convinces himself he doesn't, it's because he wants to believe that it's wrong and he's better than it. Or no better. She kind of rolls herself around to where she can look up at him. He's asked me twice, Raya. What was the lesson?
Nod. Like I said, he's the most open to them. I'll try at least trying to understand. He understands the sacrifice you pay for honor and duty more than most. But he'll never truly understand it. Same as I'll never truly understand him. And that's fine. As long as I know enough. As long as I know enough, I'm happy.
Maybe not as truly, or maybe he doesn't believe in it. But he has still done it, Raya.
Exactly. He's done enough. He doesn't try and change it. because he figures it's some malarkey of an idea. He's not like others.
And she'll just because she's kind of squinting and glancing up and isn't quite sure he understands, really. He'll I mean, assuming he allows it to happen, because she can't just take over his brain. But she will briefly, like, fade in and out an image of Felix in all of his fucking furious glory with a brick raised up in his hand. And as she shares the image, just says again, "No, he's done it."
He's beaten you once. You look at 10 Point, and yet he was crying over his Adrian challenge. He hasn't slept over his Adrian challenge. Beating out of frustration is not a different thing. Taking your anger out on someone out of frustration is a different thing. To make sure that person doesn't fall to the worm by systematically telling them, programming them to change, helping them change, it's far different. Passion is a vice we all have, and we Fianna know it most well. But he's not trying to save you. He's using you as a toy to beat his frustrations out on.
In fairness, Raya, I did make a mistake.
Of course, and you learned a lesson. That's fine, but he was angry, wasn't he?
Of course, Raya.
You nod. That's the difference. You're doing your duty in a way as an Omega, relieving someone of their tension and frustration, and acknowledging their mistake. But was he trying to save you from the worm? Was he trying to teach you after that?
With a tiny head shake.
Well, there you go then. Do you see the difference?
Yes, Raya.
You see what I'm doing? I can beat you to a pulp right now. I could put you through that glass pane over there, and I could beat you till you stop moving. You'd stitch yourself up, and we resume again next morning. But what would you learn from it?
Nothing, Raya. There's no lesson.
Exactly. Exactly. You flick the page again. Lily's pretty.
Yeah, she's withdrawn a little in thought. Kind of not even looking away per se, but just kind of getting that distant look one does when they're not really focusing on anything. Though, with that comment, she'll twist a glance back up at him.
Pretty one of the prettiest kin I hear.
I suppose so, Raya.
Do you now? Tell me, is that why you picked him?
What?
Is that why you claimed him?
No, Raya.
Did he smile at you? Did he watch you? Have you been looking at him at some point?
You'll probably feel the first tendrils of a kind of dread. As she, this time, more energetically, more lively, shakes her head a little sharply.
Now you sound frightened. Usually means two things. One, you're telling me the truth. Or two, you're scared I've caught on to something.
It wasn't like that, Raya.
Not again. You go and flick through the poetry book and put it down very gently, very, very gently. on the table. Finish the rest of the cigarette and put it out in the ashtray. And look over at her. Eyes. 10 point knows he's surprisingly calm.
Oh, she's still laying it with her head in his lap because she hasn't figured out a good way to disengage.
He'd reach over and stroke her hair very tenderly, very carefully. Carefully avoiding, like, obviously the half-grown antlers because you don't want blood all over his hands. So why did you pick him then?
We talked at length, Raya, both about what happened and then eventually about calmer things. He was shaken. And as we spoke, he told me about how he had had schooling, he'd had training, but he hadn't been able to land a proper work and had gone unclaimed because he had no particular strengths to offer. And he mourned that he had gone unclaimed.
I see. I see. So you decided to take him in, did you?
For now, right?
Depriving a good guru of a kinfolk to breed with.
No, Raya.
He's young, fit. Did you want him all to yourself?
It's a small but sharp head shake. No, Raya.
He'll lean forward again, right down. So, I mean, he is over her.
She has been trying very hard not to tense up. She can no longer try hard enough, and she just kind of cringes a bit. I mean, she can't get any further down, but yeah, she just kind of draws in a little bit. Raya, if anyone were to come to challenge for him,
Or you give him up so quickly, would you?
I don't have the right.
Oh, you don't have the right. So that's how you're going to treat your kin.
No, Raya.
So what happens if someone did that to Chad's mother? Would you give her up so quickly?
No, Raya.
Oh, so what's the difference between her and Billy then?
Chad's mother has been good to us. She's been family to us, Raya.
I see. And what would Billy say to you after that? The fact that you gave him up so easily. He seems quite smitten.
She begins to look just flustered and alarmed. Raya, he's courting a mate.
I'm asking you a question, 10 Point. What would what the look he would give you? That you would give him up so easily?
If you did not want to go, Raya, that would make the challenge worthwhile.
Oh, and then you'd make the challenge. I see. So you wouldn't defend him from the get-go. You just roll over.
Raya, if a more suited guru came seeking male kin, and he wished to go,
I never said he wished to go, did I? You assumed I said he wished.
if he wished, I would make it simple.
Really? You seem nervous, 10 Point.
She's kind of like, the lips kind of half part, but she just doesn't have anything to give in response.
In fact, you've been odd for a while. Something you want to tell me?
No, Raya.
You sure?
She proceeds to get a little bit of that distant look as she starts combing her brain, searching for something she might have done wrong that she needs to fess up to.
Because I hear you like confessions. 10 point. And since I'm alpha of this pack, I think that's my responsibility, isn't it?
Yes, Rhea.
So, 10 point. Do you have anything to confess?
Only small things, Rhea. Nothing of significance.
Small things. What are they?
Lapsing in proper greeting to Mariah's. Lapsing in proper use of the title. Rhea.
And which group were these?
Most recently, Rhea. With Jacob. When he came calling.
Oh, really? Oh, did he come over, did he?
He came to speak to Billy, Rhea.
I know I sent him over here. I wanted to see what you'd do. And how did you greet Jacob?
Just with words, Rhea.
With words. And how did he react?
Her brow knits a little bit. He didn't, really, Rhea.
Right. Well, so much for him caring about you then, right?
He acted as though nothing had changed, Rhea. I don't
Was he
think he even noticed.
Well, there you lean back. Well, well, well. So what's the lesson then, 10 point?
That you were right, Rhea.
No. Well, I'm always right. But what was the lesson? What did you learn from Clay's indifference to you?
Either he doesn't understand, Rhea, or he doesn't care.
And which do you think really it is? After all, the shocking display he's given you twice now.
And her lips purse. Again, kind of pressing inward. I know you want me to say that he doesn't care. But I begin to think that he's just oblivious, Rhea.
Oh, so you know what I'm thinking. Oh. See. I see, 10 point.
There's a decided uncomfortable look, and oh my, look at that, I don't know, bookshelf over there. How interesting.
That's when the face is turned right back into those piercing green eyes. I mean, he's right in front of her face.
She, yeah, especially twisted around. She more properly cringes this time.
You know what I'm thinking, do you?
No, Rhea.
But you said you did. You said, I know what you want me to say, which implies that you think this lesson is pointless.
No, Rhea.
Well, you wouldn't have said them, would you?
It was poorly phrased, Raya.
Poorly phrased. I like that. Poorly phrased. That's an excuse I haven't heard in a while. So, you think the lesson's pointless?
No lesson is pointless, Raya.
Okay, here we go. Are we set up anyway?
Oh, no! Let me quickly do that. Let me first do this.
That is 3 successes on a manipulation intimidation roll.
And what exactly is he doing?
He leans right forward. And I mean, he whispers right into her ear. But you think this one is?
Yeah, he'll feel that fresh wash of what essentially amounts to oh shit, which is a nice burst of panic she hasn't had in a while. And yeah, she's done a little bit of cringing, some wincing, but no, she actually starts to curl up, albeit with a hand holding her face. It doesn't really move, but yeah, she just whole body starts withering, pulling in. She probably actually gives a bit of a not a sharp jerk of the head, but some writhing to try to reclaim her jaw. And just kind of tries to retreat.
And now you're running away from me.
She'll issue a whimper and probably actually try a little harder. Actually, like prop a hand against his leg and just kind of try to squirm off of his lap.
Okay, I'm gonna roll a strength intimidation roll. See how this works. 3 successes.
I mean, I can roll against it, but I only have 1 die to roll, so.
He lifts her up. And literally, I'd say this is enough. 10 points small enough. He will walk over and push her against the wall, hand on the throat.
And she gives kind of a squeak of a whimper as she goes up by the throat. And, yeah, grabs a hold of the arm, tries to take some of her weight off of her throat, and very probably tries to give at least 1 good thrash before she's pinned against the wall, at which point she just kind of freezes up.
And the odd, creepy thing is, he is calm. There is rage there. Oh, you do feel it. As you notice, Hayden has a lot more rage in him than he normally does. Not the massing ball that used to be there, but no, just more quiet rage. But he's calm, cold, very calculating in the way he's even studying 10 point.
Maybe that's why she's so unnerved. But yeah, about time he like gets her pinned back against the wall by the throat. She just stops everything. Even the breathing gets shallow.
I'm gonna roll another intimidation, and this will be Dex. Well, fuck it, yeah, charisma. He's reaching for something. Jesus, that is 2 successes. From the side of the counter, she'll feel it against her cheek, just like almost like a whisper of his knife. Just Cut some of the strands of her hair off, and then shoop, cut some of the other strands of her hair off. It's moving that fast.
And yeah, her pupils reduced to like pinpricks, really. And she just starts breathing even more shallowly, though a lot more rapidly, clinging to his wrist.
Are you gonna lie to me again?
Nora.
You gonna assume what I'm thinking, are you?
Nora.
Squeeze. You know what? I'm gonna put some force behind this. Strength brawl. Success. So 3 strength. Oh, she's grappled. So 2, 4. That many d10s, Jesus, computer. That's 3 bashing as he squeezes.
Oh boy, soap time.
Yeah.
That is 2 of it soaked.
I she just feel her throat kind of being squeezed a bit.
Yeah, she gives kind of a pitiful squeak in protest. But is kind of pinned between a rock and a hard place when it comes to the urge to squirm versus the fact that he's got a knife in his other hand. So she tightens up, she tenses up, but she doesn't actually struggle per se. Besides, that's a lot of intimidation one after the other.
Oh yeah, he went full fucking thing on this. Now, I don't like when people assume what's going on in my head. So, what I wanted you to learn was both. That he does not care, but he is also a fool. But you decided to assume what the lesson was. That is not good. Assumptions make mistakes. Assumptions make me very angry. Do I look angry? 10 point.
I don't think it's considered. She's probably still just kind of clinging desperately to his wrist and at this point shaking.
We're rolling our manipulation, intimidation again. Another 3 successes as he leans right in, bringing her probably partially the way towards him. Do you feel me being angry with you? Is that what you were hoping for?
And she, especially with the extra intimidation, like her eyes finally squint shut and her head snaps off to the side, like just turning away. What little she can, really, all things considered, grip-wise. But recoiling in blatant terror. And, I mean, before he can even finish, it's especially when he says, "Can you feel how angry I am?" She just squeaks out a piteous little, "Yes, sir."
Oh, good. So what are you never going to do again?
Assume that I know what you're thinking, Raya.
Oh, I feel so bad. I'm going to roll this again. Okay, that's not as intimidating. That's rude. That's a lot of ones. But no, he just says louder.
Assume that I know what you're thinking, Raya.
Okay, one more time. Let's see. Let's see how evil we're feeling today. Okay, good. And he'll say louder.
She's slowly catching a little bit of her wits back again. And still is. Her eyes are finally opening, but her head is still twisted to the side. Still, you know, a pretty primitive kind of fear recoil. I won't assume what you're thinking, Raya.
Okay, she's not looking at him, right?
Nope.
Perfect. Oh, there we go. With 3 successes, there is a small, subtle little snarl of a voice. Nothing raised. But you'll hear, "You say it." In this kind of whispery, snarly voice.
And yeah, well, it's right back to some pretty. Like, it's not even troubling anymore. She's legitimately shaking, and she'll snap her head back around obediently. Pupils still reduced to, like, pinpricks in terror.
Well, come on, 10 Point. Look me right in the eye and see it. Or are you going to assume what I'm going to say next?
It just. She's almost clawing at the wrist at this point, head just kind of shaking. She'll actually give kind of, yeah, she kind of claws at the wrist a bit, not enthusiastically enough to do any kind of damage, but definitely gripping and trying to get loose. And the head shake is obviously not even a sensible thing. He scared all the wits out of her again. She's just kind of shaking her head and trying to get out of his grasp desperately.
Very good. Very good. Productivity. I like that. Release.
And yeah, depending on how far they are from the wall, is how many paces it takes her stumbling backwards as suddenly she's allowed to gain some of that momentum from where she's been pushing and prying at his fingers and trying to get away. And all of a sudden, she's not being held anymore. So she'll actually kind of stumble back a couple steps, probably thump her back into the wall.
You smile over at her. Warm and friendly. Nice. But still, there's that iciness behind the eyes.
She just kind of slowly slides down the wall.
You see, 10 Point. Whatever you do, no matter fucking what you do, you don't assume things. And don't presume to guess what you already know. So, that's your confession done. I don't think you need to be, well, here for a while, do you? You have shrines to attend to, I'm assuming?
There's a numb little nod. It honestly looks more like kind of brainless compliance than real thought for an answer. It's almost like she's responding to tone rather than words.
Well, then off you go.
She casts kind of a wary glance up, definitely not anywhere near his face, but just generally at his posture and where he's stationed, because, well, she's between him and the wall, and how's she supposed to go anywhere?
He seems to lean back, almost like, gestures a hand towards the door. Like, go on, get out of here.
And she'll first kind of slowly lean that way, as if expecting something to happen when she starts the motion. But if there is no repercussion, she'll slowly get her feet back under her. Still not looking at him directly, but keeping him very consciously in the peripheral, and if she gets that far, we'll finally bolt.
Just before she gets to the door, she'll feel just a hand lightly touch her wrist, turning her slowly. Oh, and 10 point. One thing. One thing
And
you should
she
know.
will yelp.
These were your minor confessions, right?
There's the yelp, and there's kind of a jerk. Does he actually grab a hold of her wrist firmly if she tries to pull it away?
Nope. Nope. He just gently puts a hand on it, very gentle.
And after a pause that's just long enough to be very pointed, she gives a very, very minuscule nod.
Hold this again. Fuck. Oh, yeah. 3. That's 3 again. Because good. We wouldn't want to see what happens when you have a large confession to make now, would we? That's minute intimidation, by the way.
She pulls back from him like his touch burns, pretty much. Just very sharply initially, though once she's gotten, I'd say, like a fair, like, reach distance from him, doesn't retreat but so much farther. No, right.
Good. Well then, you have duties to attend to. Go.
And this time a little more slowly and more warily. She backs towards the door.
I will roll willpower to see if he does this, because fuck it. Let's see how bad Aiden is being. Yep, he's being bad. This charisma intimidation. Oh, jeez. So I can't do this in my house because my parents will think something is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So he will scream, "Go!" You know what I mean, as loud as he can.
Yeah, she breaks and bolts.
He will crack his neck and go and sit back down the couch and light another cigarette.
Yep. She gone. She's so gone. She will run far past a reasonable distance before she lets herself stop. And I imagine when she finally does collapse in the wake of that adrenaline rush and the eventual down that follows, yeah, I suppose we'll just we'll say thank you, players, for playing, and watchers for watching. We'll see you next time on the Living World of Darkness, Rage Across New York.